Oh, I'm well, and I'm a bit heartened because today if I didn't get 90 calls, I didn't get one. Everybody wants to be involved in this sick out because people are angry, they're concerned, and a lot of them told me that they learned a lot of stuff from the program last night that made them
Mm-hmm.
angry,
Mm-hmm.
and so I just hope that others would see the light of day and realize that the power is in the hand of the people and not the other way
Mm.
around. Politicians tell you that they are our servants at election time, but we have to keep reminding them that they still are our servants and they're supposed to be serving us. Now, today I spoke with the Starcom Network News, and apparently they then went and they spoke with Minister Jordan, and Minister Jordan said that they're going to have an education program. That's the cart before the horse. I think they might think that this is not they're not using horses and this thing. They think we're all jackasses. No, if you're gonna do something for us, tell it what it is first. We are not babies. We are not dumb. But you come out and you put legislation in place, and this legislation going is for a period starting on the first of January 2024.
Mm-hmm.
So why do you have to rush it through in all its stages in one day in Parliament? Why the clandestine manner? Now, when you try to hide things like this, it makes people even think worse. You know, they did the same thing with the National Identity Bill. I remember when I was a member of the Senate, I wrote the courteous thing to do is the right to say that you will not be able to attend the Senate on a particular day. And unfortunately, on that same day, Senators Drex and Tate, Crystal Drex and Monique Tate, they also sent in letters saying they will not won't be able to make it on that particular day. And out of the blue, they put the National Identity Bill and passed it in all its stages in one day
Mm.
to be implemented 2 years down the road. So up to this day, because of that nastiness, I call it nastiness, I haven't gone for one of them yet because I think there's got to be something behind it. I don't know what it is. All I can tell you is that the way they did it makes me suspicious. Now they're doing the same thing with these two bills, the National Insurance and Social Security Amendment Bill and the Pensions Miscellaneous Provisions Bill 2023. These going to start January 1st. Why don't you have a program? Send the document out in the public. Let us all see it. Let us all review it. Some some people fancy me as an expert in public service pensions. I don't do that to myself, but I know a little bit about it, and I have not seen. When I saw the document after I heard about the debate, I went on Parliament's website and I read the document. I'm a trade unionist. I represent a few people, and a few of them are public officers. They're calling me for advice. I cannot give them because the first person that called me said this thing be then debated in Parliament. Should I resign now, retire now, and go home because I in? So I said, well, I can't answer that because I don't know what's in the bill. I was able to tell him later on because I called him back when I found out what it was all about. But he in particular didn't have anything to fear. But how many people know this? Up to today, I have received a call with somebody with that same sentiment. You know, the government cannot continue to do these things. Um, and I can't say in the sly, can I? You know, they're doing these things like moving in like thieves in the night. When the body will see them.
But Mr. I want to go back to what you said earlier, that when it came on to the national identity bill, that they waited until the independent senators were not able to attend on that day.
No, no,
Uh,
no. There were two opposition senators because I was an opposition senator then,
opposition is.
and the two of us were going to be absent. And then Monique Tate, who was an independent senator, she also sent, but Monique usually speaks out about bad draft and bad pieces of legislation. So they made sure we didn't have we couldn't criticize it. They did it in all its stages that very day. There was absolutely no need for that because they were going to implement it 2 years down the road. As a matter of
Mm-hmm.
fact, I had not seen the bill until when they were talking about it. Somebody sent the bill to me. I thought it was something new. So I went on the thing and I couldn't find it. So when I scrolled down, I realized this thing was passed 2 years ago. That is, and you know, they passed it 2 years. The education program that they would have done about it ain't come yet. They did everything. The same thing they did with the Constitution. That's why everybody walking about place and we don't have a Constitution. I sat in the Senate on the 6th of October 2021 and I criticized them. I can send you the debate. I said, you realize we passed the Constitution today? And they tell about nothing. They actually did, you know. But they tell about anything. So I'm not surprised people say we don't have one. They actually passed a document. They repealed the old
Really?
Constitution. Yeah, they repealed the old Constitution and then reenacted it with a few amendments to it. I was
Mm-hmm.
ashamed of them. I said, look, this is the same document that we get from Britain, just with a few bells and whistles, those words they use on it. And you don't got the pride. Where's your pride?
So that is why people are saying, so guys, are we listening? That is why people are saying that there is no constitution, because they pass a constitution already, I guess, to hold us over until September when we get the reform constitution, but the public isn't aware of that.
They did it. I can probably even pull it up and read it for you. But the that bill was the same bill they used when they declared that the Governor General would change the president.
Mm-hmm.
Remember?
Yes.
Because and most people thought that it was just changing the Governor General to president, but they did a lot more. And people did not know, people did not see, they didn't tell anybody that's what they were doing. Only when I read the bill, I said, but you passing a constitution today and you're telling about anything?
Mm.
When
Wow.
this program is finished, I will send you the first part of the debate. I started at 34 minutes, so you could probably go from there and
Yes.
check. And people didn't know. So I'm not surprised that people said they got a constitution because they actually repeal the old one, but they replaced
Mm-hmm.
it immediately.
And they replaced it immediately. Guys, are we hearing that? This is what has happened, and this is why as he said, the average Barbadian does not know this. And it's the same thing with this, with the NIS bill, the pension reform, everything. It is the same issue where things are being done and the public is not being informed about it. Like, for example, I mean, I was at the beginning of the program was talking about the Gazette, that normally they would publish the bills there, and but this one is just missing.
Look,
And it seemed like it's a thing that they do.
they now have they don't really now publish the Gazette in paper anymore. They might have a few copies made,
Mm-hmm.
but everything is online. I remember when they were planning to do that, I got wind of it and I got in the Senate and I said they're trying to get rid of the people in the at the government printery. Senator Moore got up and said it was a lie. It ain't true. But I knew that they had actually gone into a relationship with a printery in Barbados, and that printing would have been published in the Gazette. I know that because the staff that they took on to become government printers came to me when they got sent home. Because then everything fall apart. And they were only so because in those we were debating the estimates that time. And they didn't put any money in the estimates for the government printery. So we know that if you don't put the money in, you expect that the Bible can shut down. The government printers, like a sleeping giant. Don't do anything really. Nice equipment, all kind of stuff. And some days they don't even have toilet paper for to be able to print on. But this government does what it likes. And they feel because they're popular, or they were popular, that they can get away with anything. And that Barbados thing is a 9-day one that we talk for 9 days, and that's the end of it. So they'll wait up the 9 days. But this has to stop because they are not the guardians of retarded people. Where you have to make decisions and do things for them and don't expect them to understand what you're doing for them. You're doing it for their own good. If you're doing it for their good, tell me what you're doing for my good. At least do me that honor. At least you pay me that respect to believe that I got a little bit of sense. They claim they had consultations, right? I don't know who that consultations with because I told you last night they invited me. This is how it happened. I opened my email one day and I saw an email from the Permanent Secretary Ministry of Labor thanking me for agreeing to serve on this committee. That was the first time I knew that I had actually agreed to serve on anything. I felt that was an insult. But then after a while, I cooled down, and when the Director of National Insurance called me and asked me about not attending the meeting, I said, well, nobody never spoke to me, nobody never sent me anything. I was planning to go, but then I said to her, well, send me the documents. And they said they can't send me the documents, I got to get them there when I get to the meeting. You mean they might go to the meeting to discuss documents that they have in their possession, and they can't see them till they get there? That means you don't trust me? So I said, well, look, this is the waste of time. They want rubber stamps. And I am not a rubber stamp for anything. So the government came up with this thing with the IMF and the IMF nonsense. And they are trying to fit us into what the IMF tell them to do. The IMF is governing Barbados. And I want to reiterate for the people who didn't hear me last night. I heard on more than one occasion on the news where they said that the IMF audited the government pension plan, the government pension scheme. Well, that is a lie. It is an absolute lie because the government doesn't have one. So when they said they audited the pension scheme, they could only audit national insurance. And I do not believe anything the actuaries or the auditors say from national insurance because they have been unable to produce accounts for a lot of years. I remember one person at National Insurance stole millions of dollars. A temporary clerical officer was able to steal millions of dollars. They arrested her, have her before the courts, and the case has been adjourned for about 10 years because they cannot find evidence, because every check that the girls supposed to have forged cannot be found. You cannot charge some person for forging a check that you cannot produce. So, and they were given millions of dollars gone,
Wow.
And they could not. Another thing about the actuary did that in the account. You cannot give an actuarial review on unaudited accounts because by the time your accounts are audited, it might be something significantly different. The information that the auditors was produced for national insurance this time around is the same information that Oinata had that Erskine Sandiford had. And I happened to be on one of those pension committees as a member of staff at NUPW. I was representing NUPW on those committees. And we discovered, and they informed us back in 1989 that the National Insurance Fund
Mm-hmm.
would go broke if no measures were taken to protect it back then. Well, Arthur came in '94 and he read about it with gusto. He changed up the rules. What he actually did, he changed the way you computed the pension so you would get less money. He raised the contribution rate and he raised the maximum insurable earnings. That put the National Insurance Fund back in good stead and it was building back up. But then when politicians see money, they can't help themselves. They're going to borrow it. What is hurtful is that the Prime Minister, Miss Mayor Motley, was a member of the Owen Arthur cabinet and would have been aware of what was transpiring when Arthur was endeavoring to save the National Insurance Fund. So when she came into office and she said, that when she came into office, she discovered that the National Insurance Fund was in jeopardy. When she was asleep during Arthur years in cabinet, because that was all through the cabinet. Everybody knew but her.
Mm.
And then she started to take measures. You want to boy that she had to take measures? Because Ben Arthur helped build back up the fund. Make it look pretty and make it look good. Everybody started to borrow it. And then she came in. And she decided that she ain't going to pay her bills. Or she ain't going to pay the country's bills. And she then forced a write-off. Credit unions, banks, national insurance lost a lot of money. National insurance over $1 billion in that write-off. But that's money that would have kept the National Insurance Fund liquid for a while longer.
Mm-hmm.
And you know
So,
that
so she did that because she felt that the country could not put that money back. What was happening, or is it that people are not paying into the fund?
no, I can tell she's not paying into the fund.
Mm-hmm.
But she knew, or ought to have known, that if she took that money out from the National Insurance Fund, it would have put the fund in jeopardy.
Mm.
But she was not acting on her own. She was taking directions from the International Monetary Fund, who has never helped a small country yet.
I see. Okay, so she
They
was
were they
following
went
that
they,
the
they went
directive.
to Jamaica in the '70s in a short-term thing, and they're still there.
They basically destroyed the economy of Jamaica, the
Yes,
IMF.
they don't they
Uh,
don't have they don't help small countries.
mm.
But they took the dictates. And they're telling me one IMF said this, IMF said that. And the IMF lied. They lied to the IMF. They could have audited something that wasn't there. They audited the government pension plan. The government pension plan. Pensions in the government are paid from current revenue. So when the money come in, they pay salaries, pay the bills, pay pensions. Mind you,
Okay,
it
because
should
someone
not have.
is asking how does somebody easy D say, okay, the government don't have a pension scheme? I didn't know that. So which scheme does government pay the pensions out of?
Current revenue. Just like how they pay salaries. All the current revenue. When you pay the taxes, when the gas stations spending all that nice money that you pay, that 40 cents per liter on gas, all that goes into the treasury, and that helps pay pensions as well. But there is no pension fund. There ought to have been, but no government put it in place since 1947.
Mm. So why are they saying that the IMF audited the pension fund when pension scheme when they everybody should know that there is none?
Well, everybody that should know didn't. because the government didn't even recognize that. That was a lie. Unless there was a collaboration. The only fund that they could have audited would have been the NIS pension fund, because they have a fund. But the fund that civil servants are paid from, it is the consolidated fund, money from the treasury. They don't have any pension scheme. When you retire, they scratch off your name off the salary roll, calculate how much pension you got, and then they go on the pensions roll, all at the treasury. You don't, there's no fund. There should have been, but there's none.
Somebody here is saying, I'm just giving you some of the comments. Lindell Earl is saying, when you write off 1 billion in debt, it improves or reduces the debt to GDP ratio. So is that what she was trying to do?
That is what they wanted to make the things look good. The problem is that you, in making the government payments look good, you were imperiling the National Insurance Fund. And the National Insurance Fund is not government money. The National Insurance Fund is money that you, me, all the workers in the country and their employers put there for the benefit of the workers.
I see. Exactly.
Government is a trustee of that money. But because we have the government and the ministers now get involved in everything, but them insist that they must be involved in everything, the ministers still have overriding control over how the fund is paid out. And when the government, the board wants to invest, they have to tell the minister has to say yes or no. When people apply to the board for a loan, and the board says no, in my experience, the minister tell the board, don't back down for to give people the loan. When the board said no, it was not something that we should invest in. So nothing will change in the national insurance until you get the politicians' hands off of it. Somebody sent me a WhatsApp today claiming that they knew Uncle Walcott, the first direct national insurance. And when Barrow wanted to borrow money from National Insurance Fund, Uncle Walcott said, Barrow, that it is not, NIS is not the government bank. And of course, Barrow realized it and backed off.
Because you need to have that independence, because you're really just, you're just keeping, you're a trustee of people's money. You can't just take it up and use it.
Yeah, look, I'm making the point again. I keep hitting it home. If you were a trustee for money, let's say you had a brother who died and left some money there, and you held the money in trust. That if you have spent that money contrary to its intended purposes, you can face the courts. You can be in jail. But there's no courts and there's no jail for government for government ministers who do these things, unless you get catch outside. But we don't talk about the people out there.
That went over my head. Anyway, keep going. That went over my head.
But no, it is absolutely wrong. You've got to follow some sort of rule, some sort of standard, some sort of best practice. And the only best practice people know is, I want some money, give it to me now. And they can tell the National Insurance Board, pay the money over, and the board has to comply. Or you change the board. What should happen? A lot of these boards should be appointed by some person independent of the president. The president should appoint the service commissions without any involvement of any leader of the opposition or any prime minister. The board, it should appoint the National Insurance Board. It should appoint the people who serve on the tribunals, like the Employment Rights Tribunal, rather than get political persons to be your chairman. I'm not saying that we've been badly served with the people that we had so far. But they should not be appointed by, they should not be on the recommendation of any minister of government, because they deal with with the things that you want to have an arm's distance. You want to, well, listen, this body there from the government, this body is not a person who would listen to the prime minister and make sure the prime minister gets her way. They will do it based on the strong operating principles. We are not getting that in this country. National Insurance Board should be appointed by no minister.
You know, go ahead. Go ahead.
Let me tell you something. Right now, the board has a representative from NUPW, one from.
They're still calling you. They're still calling you. I know your phone ringing off the hook.
Yeah.
Guys, people want to know about the island-wide cookout that is coming up, and I'm hoping that I know that Bajans are waking up. The sleeping giant, the giant of a people called Barbadians, are waking up. The scales are coming off their eyes. They're yawning, Mr. Franklyn, and they're getting up like this. They're getting up. Go ahead.
I would prefer the government to behave properly, that we wouldn't have to take steps like this. But people have to stand up for themselves sometime, or eventually they will lose everything, even their own pride, because your self-esteem, because the government dictates everything and leave you in a situation where you are just there waiting to receive your red T-shirt and your $100 bill around election time, and that's the only time you participate in the governance of this country. And if you haven't got enough money to pass out at election time, because government ministers former government ministers were photographed, handed out money, and nobody did anything about it. You want to know why? The Electoral and Boundaries Commission and the Chief Electoral Officer, they're all appointed by the recommendation of the Prime Minister. So what are you going to do? Press charges against the body. I got you there. We do not have, we have the semblance of a democracy. Only the semblance. It's like a parody of a democracy. On the outside, it looks like we have it. But when you actually get down to nitty-gritty, down to brass tacks, you realize that everything is corrupt. I can assure you now. And I can tell you, I've been around this place for over 60 years. And I've been involved in many elections. I cannot recall a free and fair one. Because you see, like, for instance, politicians are supposed to spend $10 per elected, no more. And anybody who gives you money, you have to declare it. And that person has to declare it as well. I remember seeing a businessman say that he gives money to both parties. And I wrote and I said that's not true. Because if it's true, you would have to declare. You never declared anything. So that money is spent. And you then send in returns that say that this is more money you spent. You spent a lot more. Because then they say, oh, the party spending money. Party can't. If the party sends money on you, the party has to declare it. The secretary of the party has to declare what money spent. I've never seen a return where the secretary of the party have actually spent money on a candidate. I've seen returns where candidates did not have a telephone in their office. And you know that's true. Right? But the people who are supposed to go through these things and spot these things and say, well, look, something wrong here. Let's refer it to the court. Boy, you go and do that, and then you lose the case, and then you're looking for a job. So there's nothing really democratic about anything in Barbados. We only have the semblance of a democracy.
Somebody said the mockery we see, not a democracy, is what is happening, and that's why I see, Mr. Franklyn, I see the similarity with what Macron did. And, our prime minister was in France, and really they weren't booing her, but they were booing Macron. And the reason they were booing Macron was because of the same thing with the pension. One of the
They,
things was with the pension reform. And she's come here, and their government is trying to slip it in, not following all the protocol that needs to be followed, and coming in the dead of night and trying to hide away. And when people walking up and drinking, then they come in with something, and it's very similar to what happened in France.
I want to go on to talk about pensions generally in the public service.
Hmm.
There are many pensions acts in the public service. The Judges Remuneration and Pensions Act, the Legislative Service um, Return Allowances Act, the Pensions Act for civil servants, Statutory Boards Pensions Act, Statutory Boards Casual Employees Act, Pensions Act, you name it. They got a lot. Teachers Pensions Act. But all of those, except for judges, all the rest I just call follow the same line. Judges and the parliamentarians. Because parliamentarians see themselves as different and super to everybody else.
Hmm.
Like give you a rundown now of some of the things that they'd enjoy in the public service in Barbados. You have to be employed for 10 years in order to qualify for your pension. MPs have to be in Parliament for 8 years or 2 terms, whichever is greater, and they qualify for half their salary as their pension. While civil servants who serve 10 years qualify for 1/5
Hmm.
of their salary. Now let me go on. After 33 and a third years, public officers qualify for 2/3 of their salary as their pension. MPs are similarly qualified after 12 years, except maybe the minister, because the prime minister. Because if you're the prime minister, you only have to serve as prime minister for appointment. Just got to be appointed, and if you resign the same day, you will get a pension for life. So you understand? Yeah, I'm very serious.
So she doesn't have anything to worry about.
No, nothing, absolutely nothing.
Wow.
As long as
Barbadians, are we
as long as
hearing
you've been
this?
appointed prime minister, they pay a small amount toward their pension. But people become prime ministers give back. So the prime minister gets it back. So that the little contribution that you make, the 5% contribution they make to your pension, the person who becomes prime minister, they pay it back to them. And the
Hmm.
prime minister gets their pension for life of 2/3 of their salary if they serve 1 day. If you are a member of the Senate and you are not in a minister or parliamentary post, or the president, you do not get a salary. So you're not pensionable. But if you become a member of the House, they add those years in the Senate to your service in the House. So if you were in the Senate for 5 years and then you somehow become an MP, you only got to serve 3 years now to qualify for a pension of half of your salary. You understand what these people just make sure they take care of each other.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then when something happens, they make sure the civil servants and the people in the country who get pay for it. Because they imperil the national insurance scheme, they put it in trouble, and now they tell me now that they're gonna get their pension in 8 years, and they're gonna wait 14 years and 14.4 years to get a pension over the national insurance. Mind you, you would have qualified for a pension for 500 contributions. Let's say you had 500 contributions and you lost your job.
Mm-hmm.
Your pension is there waiting for you. You haven't reached retirement age yet, but no whether change to 750, you might get a job. Or you
Mm-hmm.
get a pension here. You know that.
Right. Wow.
You better find a job. You you Mind you, I remember when I worked at National Insurance. We had situations where people had 499 contributions and did not get a pension.